Welcome to tonight's council meeting. It's behind it, thank you. We don't have any apologies. Any declarations of interest and conflicts of interest. Yeah. Any? No, good. And I just need to acknowledge the start of the official proceedings. I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Jarrah country, for which the members and elders of Jarrah community and their forebears have been custodians for many centuries and have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. We acknowledge their living culture and the unique role in the life of this region. Council meetings are audio and video recorded and are made available to the public via electronic media, including YouTube. Item 4, confirmation of the minutes, 20th of September 2022. Councillor Driscoll's moving.
Mayor, I'd like to recommend the minutes of the meeting of the Manor Alexander Shire Council held on 20 September 2022 be confirmed.
The seconder. Councillor Henderson. Comment, all in favour? The motion's carried. Just before I do item 5, I just want to make a comment concerning recent flooding, and that is that on behalf of the councillors in the Shire, we give thanks to the SES, the CFA and all emergency services workers, and in particular our council staff for their efforts that they've done in the recent days of this natural hazard that's happened. I also would like to acknowledge the many members of the community who have responded in helping their neighbours or sporting groups or golf clubs, bowling clubs, etc. One prime example is that we've had many individuals offer to go up to botanical gardens and refresh it and get it back to its normal spectacle. Our community is a very resilient community, and it shows in incidents like this. So I just publicly say thank you to everybody for their contribution. Next item, if I could have the Castlemaine Football Club senior women's members to come forward. Yep. Council and staff of Manor Alexander Shire wish to acknowledge the achievements of the Castlemaine Football Netball Club senior women's team. The team is a member of the Central Victorian Football inaugural member of the Castlemaine Football League Women's League with this year being their inaugural season. The team won all but one game during the season and finished on top of the ladder, as well as the premiers. And their captain, Meg, was equal best and fairest player for the league. We have two representatives from the Harcourt Football Netball team. Kathy Teasdale, the president, and Alex Go, the captain and coach. Again, the Shire councillors and staff acknowledge the achievements of the football team. The senior team won the Castlemaine Maryborough District Football League Grand Final by 8 points. And this is the first time in 15 years. Council will also be acknowledging in the next few weeks other sporting clubs and some individuals who have had similar success in many fields. We now come to public questions. Would somebody like to move? Mr. Gardner, standing orders be.
Yes.
Yep. Second up, Councillor Anita. Thank you. I just need to read a couple. Well, all in favour? Carried. Public question time rules. Each speaker in the session of council will generally be limited to one question, allowing up to 3 minutes to speak. Shall extend due courtesy and question and respect to the council and the processes under which it operates. Shall take direction from myself as the chair of the meeting whenever I call upon a speaker to do so. Shall not attempt to enter into discussion or debate with council. However, councillors may ask questions or of clarification of the speaker. We ask that you state your name clearly, and if you're representing a group or organisation, do so. And in a few words, the issue you wish to raise, and then ask the question. In accordance with clause 12.15 of the governance rules, questions of council may be of any matter except if it relates to a matter outside the duties, functions and powers of the council, is defamatory, indecent, abusive, offensive, irrelevant, trivial or objectionable in language or substance, is aimed at embarrassing a councillor or a member of council staff, relates to personal matters, relates to the personal hardship of any resident or ratepayer, relates to industrial matters, relates to contractual matters, relates to legal advice, relates to a planning matter already listed on the council meeting agenda, relates to matters affecting the security of council property, or relates to any other matter which the council considers would prejudice the council or any person. Please note that as chair, I may cease or reject the question deemed unacceptable under those clauses. We have one written question, and I believe the lady's present. Thank you. Do you wish to speak?
Oh, yes. Do you want me to speak now?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Vera Hemkes. I live in Harcourt. Last week I was present when the floods took place in Harcourt, or the morning after. I have a question for the council. Some 6 weeks ago, I approached the planning department here at Mount Alexander Shire to identify where the flood overlays were located in Harcourt, only to discover there were none at all. Despite the fact that there have been regular flooding events in Harcourt, even in the 10 years that I have lived here, many more years before that. So my question is, I would like to know why there are no flood overlays, and also how development took place in a small court called Liaka Court. Despite the fact that this is a natural flood zone, this development area flooded last week. I and another woman of my vintage spent 1 or 2 hours helping with sandbags, helping those people to save their houses. And I direct my question about the flood overlays and the development in that court, why that took place, although it's a natural flood zone.
Thank you. Director Anita.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for the question. With regard to the application of flood overlays within Harcourt, to include overlays within the planning scheme, we're required to have a detailed flood study undertaken. And the council has identified that that's an outstanding issue that we wish to address. And earlier this year, we were successful in receiving funding from both a combination of state and federal funding to be able to undertake the overlays.
Yeah.
And they have, they're in the commencement phase of the preparation. So we've partnered with the North Central Catchment Management Authority, who is the official authority, to undertake the study on behalf together with council. And that preparations for those plans and that study to commence is underway. the North Central Catchment Management Authority will be engaging within the community for feedback and input into the flood study overlays. Once that hydrological study is completed, we'll then be making an application to amend and apply the overlay to the planning scheme to the Ministry of Planning as we go forward. So until we get that detailed hydrological analysis, we're unable to apply an overlay to the area. While we do know that there are historical locations within the area that are exposed to flooding. With regard to the development that you mentioned, and I'm sure the community members were very thankful for your help. As the Mayor has mentioned, many community members have supported. We in the assessment of that proposed subdivision, or the subdivision that's there today, we did refer the subdivision to the North Central Catchment Management Authority for their review in relation to the potential flooding, and they came back with an assessment that there was no conditions required for those particular areas. So that was based on their assessment of the data of the particular river. So that was part of the approval process the council undertook to allow that development to proceed. But we do note that the water did come forward, and many of the people here tonight have observed that in person. And part of the flood study that is currently underway will take into consideration the recent event that happened last week.
So what would happen with, in that case, with the residents? They've got concerns that about the flooding situation. It may happen again.
Yeah, so we will be contacting them to have them to feed in their experience into the process as we go forward.
Okay.
And also over the weekend, along with the emergency services, council officers also went out on site to support the preparation of sandbags as we go forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No more comment? Okay.
Thanks. Does any member of the public have a question? Yeah.
Andrew Hampton's my name. I'm a resident at 86 Burns Road in Sutton Grange. About 30 years ago, an open crossing of the Upper Myrtle Creek was replaced with a box gutter. Now, that box gutter fails when we have a heavy rain event, as we had in the last week. And it's going to cost the council thousands of dollars to fix up the road again. And the council has already done road repairs along Burns Road 4 times in the last 22 years. And I would like the council to consider replacing the box gutter with the open drain, which was there 30 years ago. It's a no-brainer to me. It costs thousands. Every time we get these heavy rain events, the road gets washed out. And my personal interest in it is really because all of the material that council carts into Burns Road when it gets damaged ends up being washed up against my fence, which is not very good for my fence. So I would like the council to look at that matter.
Thanks, Mr. Hampton. Director Anita, do you wish to make a comment?
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, Mr. Hampton, for the history of the Burns Road and the culvert there. I'll take that information back into our team and to combine that together with the assessments that are currently underway across the Shire to inform future directions. And if we can get your details, we'll possibly reach out as we go forward with the assessment and the consideration of actions into the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just a question, Andrew. In terms of the frontage of your property, how much fence are we talking about that gets affected?
The water that can't cross the creek when we have the heavy rain event flows down Burns Road, and it probably crosses into my property. 100 metres would be, Adrian? Yeah, 100, sort of over a front of 100 metres. As it goes down the hill, it slows down, and then it crosses into the creek, and it deposits its material against my fence.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Kim will take your details. Mr. Ham, Kim and Albert will take your details so that Director and Leah can get back to you. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the public gallery? No, thank you. Someone like to move that we resume standing orders. Councillor Henderson. Second, Councillor McClure. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 7, petitions and letters. Seven one, petition banning of the lost state. The lost state. Yep. That's some tea. Councillor Leah, sorry.
All right, so the background to this, at the meeting of Council 20th of September 2022, Council was presented with a petition asking that Council, 1, revise Council policy on the spraying of glyphosate and other chemical weed killers in all public places. 2, review Council duty of care to prevent any adverse impacts of synthetic chemical use on workers and residents. 3, phase out glyphosate use at the end of 2023. 4, conduct trials of non-chemical weed management systems, especially in areas where children and pets are exposed. The petition was deemed valid in accordance with the criteria outlined in clause 12.2.5 of the Governance Rules 2020. We'll move that Council acknowledges receipt of this petition and receives a report on this petition at the meeting of Council on 20th of September 2022.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Henderson. Any discussion? Councillor Nia, do you wish to comment any further? Thank you. All in favour of the recommendation as moved? Get carried. Committee reports, there are nil, which takes us to item 9, community, 911, the appointment of new community asset committee members. Councillor McClure.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, a special meeting of Council on the 1st of September 2020, Council established community assets committees and appointed members to those committees. Members' terms for these community asset committees are valid for 2 years. As a result, the below committees listed below are required to appoint members for the next 2 years. These committees have notified Council of their changes to their membership following their annual general meetings, and the purpose of this report is to seek approval to the updated membership. I will move that Council appoints for members of the committees and revokes the memberships of retiring members as follows, and I'm not going to print it. I'm going to say as printed. There are committees coming from John Power Reserve, the Malden Community Centre, Muckleford Community Centre, Guildford Recreation Reserve, Carradale Recreation Reserve, but I'm not going to read it. Thank you.
Second up, Councillor Cordy. Any discussion?
And only to follow up, these committees are certainly important to the operation of Council. They're mostly all, they all are volunteers, and Council does value the members of these committees. They're important part of Council operations, and we thank them for the work that they carry out on them.
Thank you. All in favour of the motion? Against? Carried. 9.2, the environment, we have no item. 9.3, the economy. 9.31, planning permit application, PA011/2021 218 Eloise Road, Faraday. Councillor Cordy.
Yes, I'd move the recommendation as printed, please, Mayor.
Is there a second? Councillor Gardner. Discussion?
Just
Hang on. Any opposition to the motion? Councillor Driscoll and Henson. Councillor Cordy.
Just some background. Council's received an application for the use of the land for a depot at 218 Alvarez Road, Faraday. The subject site is located within the farming zone and is affected by the environmental significance overlay, Schedule 1 of the Mount Alexander planning scheme. This planning matter is related to a compliance matter and is a retrospective application. The application is referred to council for this decision, as the officer recommendation is to issue a notice of refusal. This matter's been around for an extended period, and yeah, we need to make a decision on it. Thank you.
Councillor Driscoll, do you wish to comment? Councillor Gardner, you're first.
Right, second go. This is probably, for me personally, one of the hardest recommendations I'm looking at, so I need to do it, to support, because unlike most planning permit applications, you know, it affects the colour of my house, it affects this, that, and that. I'm well aware that this, by rejection, actually affects your livelihood. So I know for me, I took it very seriously, and I know every councillors do. Unfortunately, I am supporting the officer's recommendation, primarily around the road and neighbour amenity, and there is no other option. That road cannot take double B trucks unless there are substantial upgrades, including bitumen and widening, and so there's no way council can or should support the continuation of this business in this location. And I don't support this notice of refusal easily, and I think that Councillor Cordy has sort of mentioned it as well. This is an issue that's been going on now, I think, for 400 odd days, and we need to make a decision one way or another to finalise it, to give everyone an opportunity to move on. So that's why I would support the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I actually don't support the officer's recommendation. This business has been operating for a while. I think there's a way forward we can work with them. But what I want to foreshadow tonight is that my resolution will be to defer this matter to a future meeting to enable officers to prepare an alternative motion for approval. I hope I can get some support for that.
Any other councillor wish to comment, speak? Councillor Henderson.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, look, I appreciate what all councillors have said, especially Councillor Cordy and Gardner saying that it's a difficult one, need to make a decision. I must admit, on first viewing, it seemed like this was not a place to operate a business like this. But then, of course, the question is, where is the place to operate a business like this? Those people who operate very large trucking businesses have the luxury of operating them from large depots on main roads, such as we have here in Castlemaine and we find them around the state. But smaller family-based operations are not so easily come by these places away from their homes. The road is a dirt road. There's no doubt about that. It's the section that has been built by Big Roads since the building of the freeway is, in my mind, very good quality. Certainly better than the road I drive home, and most of my fellow country people drive on dirt roads. Don't have the luxury of the standard of the long section of Eloise Road coming down to Pollard's Road. That continues until closer to the applicant's house, when the road certainly becomes more like a bush track. I believe they're the only people living on that section. this would need restrictions on the number of trucks, obviously. But I believe that there has been a time when this business has expanded to carry multiple large trucks in and out of the property every day. And I understand that the family have reduced their operations in response to council's actions, but also I've been assured that in fact it turns out to be a more viable operation as a small family-based business operating just 2 vehicles. Therefore, it's brought me around to thinking, well, this is a relatively small operation. 1 truck in and 1 truck out a day is probably almost the right of the owner of the truck to come home in it. Is it so terribly much more to put another truck on the road each day and thereby allow this business to keep going? And I understand that the business actually does employ other people who never come near the depot when they're operating in other parts of the state and in fact in other states. So it's something that I come around to thinking that maybe to allow this business to continue with proper conditions, that this could actually happen. So I support, well, I'm not supporting the current motion.
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Clover, do you wish to comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I with other people are conflicted with this application. It's not an easy thing to do to not approve an application which will close business down in the community. It's the last thing that we want as council wars, and I'm sure the council staff don't enjoy that either. But that being said, I guess the conditions that would need to be applied for approval, while we don't know them, I'm guessing that I understand the issue. I've certainly spoken to the neighbours that they've got concerns about it. I understand their issues with loss of amenity, particularly dust on the road. I think that's probably the biggest loss of amenity they've got. The noise, it's probably something they've got a fair bit from the highway anyway, so I don't think that should be discounted. But certainly the dust is an issue, and I don't think the applicant did enough in their application to convince me that they can deal with that matter adequately for B doubles to be going up there even 2 or 3 times a day. So I, at this point in time, I can't support the application as it's been provided. Thank you.
Councillor Corker, you wish to close the debate?
Yeah, look, very, very difficult decision, and really it's about having an appropriate location for the business. It's not a decision of council to actually close anybody's business. The professional staff have looked at this, and they've recommended refusal, and the reasons for the refusal we're talking about lack of suitable infrastructure, degradation of roads, traffic safety, and contrary to the purpose and guidelines of the farming zone. So I just don't think it's the right situation for this operation. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in favour of the motion? Those against? Motion's carried.
Mayor, can I ask for a division, please?
Yes. In favour, we have Councillor Cordy, Gardner, McClure, Anita and Maltby. Against, Driscoll and Anderson. Thank you. 932. Planning Board application PA 2372021 415 Harcourt Sutton Grange Road, Sutton Grange. Councillor Gardner.
I'll introduce that first.
Yes,
The purpose of this report is to enable council to make a determination on an application that seeks the re-subdivision of 3 existing farm zones at 415 Sutton Grange Road, Sutton Grange. The application has been referred to council for a decision, as the council's officer recommendation is to refuse the application. The subject site is located within the farming zone and is not affected by any overlays pursuant to Mount Alexander planning scheme. The application was assessed and considered to be contrary to the relevant sections of the land policy framework and the farming zone in relation to the retention of agricultural land. Therefore, council officers recommend that council form a position to refuse this application. And I would like to move the recommendation as printed.
That is, you should read.
It's a refusal of
read.
notice.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's all right. So a refusal of notice to issue a plan permit for the subdivision of the zone lots and all the rest of it. See.
Thank you. Seconder, councillor Henderson. Discussion, councillor Gardner.
I mean, this is essentially, there are 3 existing farm lots in there, and the applicant wishes to basically split up those farm lots in a way that would then allow 2 of, sorry, I'll start again. So within that street, so at the moment, 2 of those lots are under what's the 40 hectares, and what that means is that that gives someone an automatic right to build a house. So the applicant is seeking to split up those 3 lots so that the larger lot gets smaller and the other 2 lots then become 40 hectares. That will then give them the automatic right to build a house on those particular properties. Now, I recall, and during the applicant objective meeting, there was certainly criticism, I suppose, made that the council has in the past given planning applications on smaller lots than 40 hectares, and we have. So there would be nothing stopping the applicant to actually make applications for those smaller lots to put a house on them. It isn't an automatic, but it will depend upon the situation, and each one will be done on its value. The whole objection of the farm zone is to actually try and consolidate farmland, not split it up and then ensure an automatic subdivision. So that's why I can't support the officer's recommendation for it.
Councillor Henderson, you wish to comment?
I think Councillor Gardner has more or less said it. I mean, there's always the argument put up that, oh, it's not really valuable it's no policy. However, I do note in the report that we're told that the site is a very high strategic biodiversity. And there is a endemic floral species located in the southwestern portions of the property, which I believe is where the 2 smaller lots, 40 hectare lots were designed to go. Now, if they are less than 40 hectares and it requires a planning permit, then one of the things that council definitely asks for before providing planning permission for a dwelling is a farm management plan. And in a situation like this, where the agricultural policy, we're not looking for the land to be intensively farmed, producing a crop or horticulture of any kind, but there certainly would be in that farm management plan a way to protect the existing high value vegetation. And that's what I would call that, because you're custodian to something rare, endangered, and considered by the state government as a rare species, and currently on the advisory list of rare threatened plants in Victoria. So that's the kind of thing that we need to protect, which you can protect as well as it's not of right use to build. So I can't see any good reason why we should allow this re-subdivision. On the other hand, it's I believe that the neighbouring farmer keen to consolidate and purchase land. The owner, well, you can buy 2 lots. It doesn't have to be 1 lot. And then you could acquire I believe 70 hectares, but I don't see any good reason to support the subdivision, and I support the officer's recommendation to request.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor McClellan.
When these applications have come before council before, particularly when we're talking about subdivision of farmland, I mean, I've been very, very supportive of the officer's recommendation and council's view that we should protect this farmland at all costs. And I still firmly believe that this is another one of these decisions that's not an easy decision to make. And I still, in some sense, agree with other councillors that that's our main focus, is that we should be protecting the reasonable farmland, trying to keep it in farm use. And when we split these up and they're sold off, regardless of who they're sold off, there's a danger that a larger farm gets split up into smaller ones. I must admit I was swayed a little bit by a couple of conversations that I've had. Certainly at the objectors meeting, one of the people mentioned the fact that he has a farm nearby, and he didn't have an issue with this proposal because in his observation is these smaller acreages are generally looked after better than some of the larger farmlands and farming operations around him. So that surprised me a little bit because I thought the opposite would be the case. But the other thing that persuaded me a little bit was a comment by a person just said, come out here at night and have a look from the corner of the intersection and look to the north, and the place looks like a Christmas tree. And so I did that, and he was right. But then I did a little bit more work and realised that pretty much all of the land that's north of this country in the city of Greater Bendigo is zoned rural living. So the whole of that acreage north of this piece of land, parcel of land, is almost all been split up into rural living lifestyle blocks. I don't know why we are different in our shire, but I certainly understand the reasons the officers have put the recommendation. In some instances, I support it, but in this one, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to make a comment? All right. Those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Against, sorry. Motion is carried. Nine point 33, the annual report 2021-2022. Councillor O'Neill.
The purpose of the paper that I have in front of me here is to present the 2021-2022 annual report to council for adoption. And I will move that council adopts the 2021-2022 annual report.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Cordy. Councillor O'Neill.
So, as part of our statutory requirements, every year we need to put together an annual report that shows what we've done throughout the year against our annual plan as well, and also has all of our financial and human resourcing information in it. So I've seen 3 of these now. I think 3 annual reports is the 3rd, and as with many reports, there's a lot of information in them. So much information that it can be quite hard to take it all in. Reports can often be quite dry, and it can be a struggle to get through them sometimes, especially when they're quite big. And I'm not great with financial stuff, so I struggle with the financial report as well. Last year, when staff presented the annual report to us, they asked us for feedback. And when they came back to present the report to us this year, the staff said to us, "We think you're going to like what we've done because we've included quite a bit of your feedback in there." And personally, I've been really impressed with the changes that have been made to the annual report. I find it a lot more accessible, even to a non-report reader. I think at least the first half of this report should be pretty accessible. There's lots of really beautiful photos of our area and of people enjoying the area. There's infographics. there's little maps that make things very clear. But my favourite bit, I think, is the year in review, which goes from July 21 to June 22 and goes month by month, kind of some of the big achievements that council had during those months. And some of it's really, really exciting stuff, and some of it's less exciting, but it's all kind of exciting in the end because it does show that we consistently are just doing things for the community, doing things behind the scenes, and lots of things that might not get noticed sometimes, I think. So I'm really glad that that is in there. After that, they've added another bit that I'm really impressed with, which is case studies. So these big full-page case studies about different areas that council has made a real difference in the past year. Things like we're removing barriers to sport, we're celebrating diversity, we're caring for our elders, we're supporting children and families. And these little case studies begin a bit deeper about projects we've been working on with the community or things we're doing in partnership. But just kind of, and I hesitate to use this word because I hate it, but quite innovative stuff happening right here. I'm really impressed. I have thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I still struggle with the financial stuff at the end, but it has made it a lot more palatable for me. And I hope that it'll make it easier for people who don't read reports a lot to get a bit more out of it and see that even though council, cops a lot, we're really trying to do some good things in their community as well. And I think this report really demonstrates that, accessible way. Oh, sorry, that's something. I would also just like to really acknowledge our staff members who worked on this report, particularly Ed Butler, Anne-Marie Middlemast and Michaela Mills, who have just done an amazing job. And also to our Director of Corporate and Community Services, Lisa Knight. So thank you to all our staff, it's amazing.
Thanks, Councillor Anita. Councillor Gordy.
Thanks for that, Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate Councillor Anita's comments. It's great to see the Harcourt Falcons on the front, and page 20, we've got the cutting of the ribbon for the female-friendly change rooms at Harcourt. Certainly some fantastic achievements, and yeah, in terms of the format, so the format's changed a little bit this year, but I think it's really worth having a look. It's a fabulous document, and it just shows that how much council has achieved and over the 12-month period, and I like the way it's presented. So I'd congratulate the people that put the report together. But in particular, I'd like to thank our CEO and directors, and also all of the staff that have made all of this possible. It's a fantastic report. I particularly want to acknowledge Director Knight's finance team, Carolyn Ross, the work that the finance team has put together in terms of the financial reports, and it really pleases me greatly that council is well managed financially and is in strong financial shape. That's a testament to all of the team. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Councillor Gordy. Any other councillor wish to make a comment? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. In my professional career, I've read thousands of annual reports. It's what I do for a living. If you all want to know what we're up to, you read the annual report. That's either councils or companies. But this is a really good one. I think it's very detailed and a lot of work's gone in. I just want to thank our staff for that. But it's an easy read, in my opinion, compared to a lot of others. And it's all you need to do is pick it up and have a bit of a look at it, and you'll see what I'm up to. So well done.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Anyone else? Motion being those in favour? Against, carried. 934, the allocation of air rights at 30A and 65 Templeton Street, Castle Lane to Haven Home State. Councillor McClure.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to recommend council's conditional approval to allocate air rights in the form of leasehold or freehold title, strata title, over 38 and 65 Templeton Street, Castlemaine, to Haven Home Safe for the purposes of creating affordable rental housing. The report builds on the development options discussed with council at the 7th of June meeting 2022 and the 28th of July briefings with feedback from the community and other interested parties now included. Under the proposal, council would provide access to its land and return Haven Home Safe would provide affordable housing under either a lease or a strata title with a perpetually secured contractual mechanism, such as a Section 173 agreement registered on the relevant titles. Such an agreement would also specify council's rights to use on-site facilities, including but not limited to council car parking. In return, Haven Home Safe would build, operate and manage affordable rental housing at 38 and 65 Templeton Street, Castlemaine, for a proposed period of between 35 and 49 years under a lease or ongoing under freehold title in strata. Property management and maintenance of all the air rights, i.e. those above the ground floor, and the residential tenancy components of the ground and basement areas and agreed outdoor areas would be the responsibility of Haven Home Safe. Consultation with the community about the proposed allocation of air rights under a leasehold arrangement, Haven Home Safe, closed on Monday the 18th of July 2022. This report includes a summary of that consultation, which was overwhelmingly positive. Since the 7th of June and the 28th of July this year, briefings cancelled 2 additional funding opportunities were identified. The report provides an outline of 3 funding options now available to support this initiative, and if adopted, the officer's recommendation would enable any of the 3 options to be pursued. Mayor, I'd like to move the recommendation, and I probably should go through it, I think, because it's fairly, do you think, or not, as printed?
As printed would be fine.
Okay, if you're happy with that, I'll.
That is available for people, and people have already got copies of the agenda.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that is available. People have copies of the agenda unless you want to spend.
No, if you're happy, I'll move the motion. I'll move the officer recommendation.
You've covered basically the Section 173 agreement, etc.
Yes.
So that's what that's outlined.
Okay.
Seconded, Councillor Nia. Moved, Councillor McClure, seconded, Councillor Nia. Any opposition? Councillor McClure.
This is probably a fairly momentous occasion for this organisation, I would imagine. I mean, when the government put out the big home build options for councils to take up some months or
6 months.
6 months ago, with an opportunity to councils to take in or try and find out ways of creating some affordable housing in the Shire. This is one option that was deemed that we could get up fairly quickly because it's council-owned land. While there were other options available, the land is not so easily secure because it's either drop land or railway land, or that's not council land. This being council land, we can move on it fairly quickly. And even if we do get this move through the processes, it's still going to be quite a number of years before the thing gets built and people will be living in them. But it's a start, and I think it's a great start for the community to be able to offer something like 30 or more units to for affordable housing to people around the community. So I would commend it to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nia, do you wish to comment?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Councillor McClure. I think this is a bit momentous. It feels like a very real thing that we can do to ease the strain on some of our families who are struggling with affordable and secure housing. It's it's bad out there for a lot of people. We've all heard the stories of what people are going through, and how not having secure and affordable housing can affect so many other aspects of a person's life. I know many people who are having to move out of the Shire. lots of people, single parents, older women with young kids who have nowhere to live, and there are just no options. They're having to leave all their friends, they're having to take their kids out of school. It's, you know, it's very stressful. And so much of the time there seems like there's nothing that can be done about this because everything is just a bit too hard. So it's been amazing that this idea has come together and is now at a point where we can actually turn it into something real, which will make such a difference in the lives of actual real people in our community. And I think that's amazing. Also, it's just so great that, you know, of all the people who responded, 81% were firmly in support of this. And reading through some of the comments they left, there is so much goodwill for people to have secure housing. Our community wants other members of its community to feel secure and to be able to afford to live here and be safe and have their well-being looked after. So this feels really important. I think when we were having a briefing about it, and I was thinking, and there was a lot of talk about, you know, what's going to happen in 49 years though. As probably the only one of us who may be here in 49 years, I think I'll be able to look back at this very, very proudly and be happy that I was a part of making such a great decision for our community. And you all might make it for 49 years. I'm reading for you.
It's all right. Rosie. Maybe we could do a time capsule.
Councillors, one of the questions from the public earlier was an undertaking, I think. Anyway, more to the point. This is very momentous, and Councillor Driscoll, you wish to comment?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, this is great. This I know from the councillors that affordable housing is very important to us, and this project is an opportunity for council to deliver on our commitment in the council plan that we did last year, I think, and it actually should be able to demonstrate to people that we're committed to this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, so it's not a done deal, unfortunately, but it's moving forward. It is important, and I think, you know, if things fall our way, then it's definitely doable. Some members of the community might be a bit concerned at council's investment in housing because it's not traditionally what we tend to do, but you know, homelessness is rife. It's very difficult, not only in our shire, but in many other shires. And I really think it's very important for local government to step up and be, use that word that Rosie doesn't like, innovative. And that's what we're doing here. And I just want to thank all other councillors for supporting this. And I wish, you know, I hope it goes through. But there is a lot of movement to get through, but we'll see how we go. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Driscoll. Councillor Corney.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, this is a fantastic initiative, and it's something that there's a lot been spoken about as to how we could deliver affordable housing in Castlemaine or within the Shire. And, you know, Haven Home Safe, I know many of the directors of Haven Home Safe, and they're a fantastic organisation, but there's still, as Councillor Driscoll mentioned, there's still a lot of hoops to jump through to get a project going. You haven't really got a project until you've got all the money, but I see in the recommendation there that council are committing to 5 million, so maybe there's a few other levels of government that can also kick in substantive levels of money to get this project going. But it's a fantastic initiative. It's very innovative, and but to create this sort of housing close into the town centre, where, let's face it, everyone wants to be close to where the action is. You know, it's just a fantastic opportunity. And look, there's a lot of work to be done, but this is certainly a major step in the right direction. So well done to all concerned. Thank you.
Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the work of our housing solutions broker, Claire Richards. I think terrier is probably a good word to describe her. She's been chasing after the possibilities. If that one didn't work, or she's dashed off and gone somewhere else, she's talked to people, she's followed them up, she's harried them, she has been relentless in her pursuit of this objective. Congratulations and great thanks to the leadership of our CEO for recognising that this was a prime priority of council and appointing this our housing solutions broker, finding the right person and then bringing on board, and then council approval, I think, to extend the contract so that we can have this work ongoing, because it's not, as everyone has said, it's a long haul. It's not going to happen quickly, even though the government waves the flag and says we've got lots and lots of money, billions of dollars, come on councils, get going, we'll give you the money and build. Of course it's not as easy as that. Of course we don't build housing. We're not in the, we haven't as a council got the capacity to manage housing, public housing. It has to be managed by an organisation such as Hope and Home Safe that are purpose set up for that, and they've got a fantastic track record. But yeah, I just want to acknowledge Claire Richards' work and the CEO. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Gardner, did you wish to comment?
No, I think everyone's covered it.
Righto. We'll put the motion. Those in favour? And the motion is unanimous. Thank you. 9.3.5, the appointment of a new Audit and Risk Committee independent member. Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. This report follows the independent committee member vacancy created by the passing of Glenn Sutherland, who was a long-standing member of the Audit and Risk Committee. So we interviewed 17 applicants, and they were all highly credentialed. So my recommendation is that council will appoint Peter Smith to the Audit and Risk Committee for an initial term of 3 years, commencing the 19th of October 2022.
Seconder. Councillor McClure. Councillor, anyone against? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. So the committee was made up of myself, the Mayor, and Nicole Cox, who's the chair of the Audit Risk. And as I mentioned before, 70 applicants, all very highly credentialed. But Peter was, in our collective thoughts, was the most experienced and credentialed candidate across all the areas. I think he's got some good background to work in local government, and will also fit within the workings of the Audit and Risk Committee. So I think it'll be good. So I'm very comfortable with this decision.
Thank you. Those in favour of the recommendation? Carried. Item 10, delegate report. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to report back on a couple of groups that I'm sitting on at the moment that are doing some interesting things. So one is the early years steering group. So our early years plan has run out and we need a new one. So the working group is working on that plan. It has been, so we put it out to community consultation and got an amazing amount of feedback from parents, teachers, childcare workers, as well as children. I was able to do some community consultation with a lot of Prep 1-2 kids, which is always lovely because they express themselves so differently from adults, and we also drew pictures, which is just a really nice way to communicate. It's been great. I love sitting on early years steering group because it is generally quite positive. And we're at the stage now where we're trying to figure out, you know, what form we want the plan to take. And, you know, trying to make it, again, a little bit different from your average plan, so that it contains a bit of fun and so that it can be accessible by children to some extent, because it is a plan for them in essence. We know there are barriers out there to young children having the lives that they want to have, and we're trying to address those. But we're also really looking for opportunities to bring fun to the Shire, so that families with young children, especially during winter. So one of the big bits of feedback that we got is that there's nowhere to go really during winter when you have young children. You know, you take them to a cafe, you're a bit worried they're going to kick off. You've got a baby, it's crying. It can be quite lonely and isolating in winter. So exploring options for nice things to offer during winter. It's been a really lovely process so far, and we're working towards having our draft plan ready to go out for consultation again, which will then come back to council and we will endorse it mid next year. But it's been a really exciting process to be a part of. The other one that I'm really enjoying at the moment is the Disability Action Plan Working Group. So again, our Disability Action Plan used to be part of the council plan, and we made a decision to separate it out to give it its own weight, because it is a really significant piece of work that affects many people within our Shire. The working group we have for this is incredible. The diversity of people and their experience and their lived experience is incredible. We're being informed by this collection of just incredibly talented, passionate people. So that's going really well as well. I think there's going to be, there's always a thing with disability action plans about defining where disability kind of ends, because many things can be disabilities or debilitating, I guess so. But it's really great to have so many people there representing different aspects of it. So that's going really well as well. And I'm really loving being part of both of them. The last one that I'd like to mention, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's the Neighbourhood Strategy and the Neighbourhood Character Study and Tasmania Hamilton Creek and Shooting Strategy. This is really exciting because we don't have one, and it often comes up, people in their objections say this is against neighbourhood character. It's very hard to tell if it is or not, because we have no neighbourhood character strategy. Again, we've got a working group here made up of really passionate and involved people who are willing to go above and beyond to make this a really solid plan. We've kind of been washed out a couple of times. Our next exciting mission is to do a bit of a walk around the street, so we can point at houses that are within neighbourhood character and those that maybe not so much, as well as doing some drive arounds with the consultants who are working on this. Again, it feels like a really exciting thing to be a part of, and we couldn't get there with any of these without our amazing community members who are volunteering their time and expertise. So thank you to them, as well as all our council officers. Thank you.
Can I just add an addendum there to Councillor Leo on the neighbourhood character? I remember back when we were considering the Tewton study, I've forgotten what it's called now, but it was a sort of study of Tewton and deciding things, heritage, etc. And the mainstream trying to struggle with the neighbourhood character, and I think the term that was accepted finally was higgledy. So you might find that useful in quite a few places.
I'll take note of it.
Thank you. Any other councillor have a delegate's report? No? CEO's report.
Thanks very much, Mayor. As always, councillors have a copy of what we've been doing in the last 4 weeks or so, Mayor, in our official meetings. I'm happy to answer questions as usual. Just a couple to pick out, or one that I'd like to pick out. But first of all, can I just say also thank you, councillors and Mayor, for your words, recognising the work of the staff in the preparation, but the response and now the recovery phase that we're in for the flood work. That is very much something that is led from the top through our directors. Both directors have been heavily involved in those activities, as well as the staff, and a phenomenal response from the staff as well. But just want to say my thanks as well, and thank you, councillors, for your appreciation of the work that all of those staff have been doing to try and help our community through the last lot of storms. No doubt will help through the next lot of storms. Also, thank you for the acknowledgement of the annual plan. I won't repeat what you said, but it is a fantastic document that we're very proud of as an organisation as well, and certainly have as many people as possible take the time to have a look at it. As Councillor Mayor was alluding, there's a lot of information in there about really when people say, where does my money go? have a read of that book, and it tries to do some level of justice to just how much work is being done by all of the staff in our organisation under your leadership. So thank you for that acknowledgement as well. The meeting that I wanted to mention to you, councillors, is the one that says the meeting with the Honourable Christy McBain, who's the MP for Regional Development, Local Government and Territories in the federal government. And that followed, Mayor, when you and I were originally going to go to Canberra, and unfortunately with the Queen passing, Parliament cancelled for that week, and so all the meetings were also, that was the end of that. So Minister McBain contacted us and said, more than happy to catch up with you. And I have the privilege, I have to say, of spending a full 45 minutes with her, just her and her senior advisor, talking about local government, specifically what's happening in Mount Alexander Shire, and also giving her a bit of a broader perspective from the insights of the Rural Council Victoria office. So we talked about 3 subjects, all dear to us and yourselves, I know. We talked about housing, and was able to talk to her about this very matter that you've considered tonight. And thank you for your decision tonight on that, as well as all of the other options that we're looking at, whether it be with private providers on private land, or more private providers on state government land, whether that's Crown or it's other, as well as trying to facilitate commercial arrangements happening that are just in the best interest of the community to get more affordable housing in various parts of the community. So I was able to talk to her at length about what this council is doing, and there is no question that what we're doing here, particularly with your reinvestment in the housing solutions broker position, is leading what is happening. There is no question about that. Others wish that they had people who were focused on that the way that we've been able to do here, and the results that we're getting from that. So she was very attentive to that, and we provided her with a paper that I'll certainly share with you that talks about our asking the federal government, which starts at a policy level, recognising that we need to have a proper housing strategy that is integrated with all of the other elements that make for a good life in the country, and that it needs to be a rural strategy and a regional strategy, or a regional strategy and a rural strategy, because as we know, they're not the same thing. And if we don't have them differentiated, chances are the investment will go where it's easiest to go, and that's not generally in the rural areas, because the financial return on investment is harder to prove in the rural areas. So we had a great talk with her about the need for that leadership at a policy level from the federal government and what we mean by that. We talked a lot about the existing funding stream that exists for housing, and some thoughts that we've had about opportunities to make really build on what the state government has done through the big housing bill, looking at how do you do that at a federal level as well. So that was a great conversation, and really fantastic to be able to say, and we've done a lot of work on this, and we are ready in a number of ways in our community to take advantage of state and federal government funding opportunities, because we do need them to make these things happen. The other thing I got to talk to them about was some work that was done a while ago and also recently through Rural Council Victoria, which one of the documents was the economic impact assessment of the creation and retention of rural jobs. So what we believed and what we wanted to prove with that document was, when you create a job in the country, it has more impact socially and economically than what it does in the city. And we actually got consultants to prove that that was the case. And what they found was, in a town that's less than 1,000 people, the impact of one job in that town compared to the impact in the city is 32 times more significant. So we talked to the minister about how's that thinking affecting policy as well? How's that thinking affecting investment? And certainly got a very good hearing to that argument, and provided a document to them as well. The risk of going way too long there. We also talked about funding and what we need from the federal government, but starting from the perspective of, here is what we are trying to do for ourselves, is how far that goes, and why we need more help from you, because it's just not enough. And that was based on draft document, it's not finalised yet, but it's again created by Rural Council of Victoria called Alternative Sources of Income for Local Government. When that gets released, I'll certainly be sharing it with you, but it's trying to explore who's got great ideas on how you can increase your own source income for councils. Instead of saying, oh, we need more rates and the like, what are the other income streams that are possible? This looks across Australia, it looks across all council areas, it looks across all jurisdictions across Australia. So who's doing something really smart in local government? Then it goes to Europe, then it goes to America, then it goes to New Zealand, then it goes to England. It says, what are they doing that's really smart that could be applied here as well? So they were very, very interested in that document as well. So there was a fantastic meeting, and I think we've got certainly someone who understands your challenge is what I would say in that minister. She was a councillor at Bega Shire Council and was the mayor of Bega Shire Council and then decided federal government sounded like a better gig for some reason. So very, very well informed and understanding of the challenge that you had and the decisions that you had to make and why the federal government needs to support local government. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Darren. Raised motion, Neil, urgent business, none, confidential items, none, therefore I declare the meeting closed at 8:30.